The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, Mike Azalina, and I'm joined by a guy who's going to be very excited when I tell him that I got on a basketball court today for the first time in 8 years.
All right.
And played some pickup ball.
I mean, so many questions. So many questions. Why, how, context, just all the things.
So when I used to teach in Manheim Township, I didn't say, Regz, how you doing? Regz, how you doing?
This story is more important. We'll get to me. It's fine.
Okay. I used to play basketball every Tuesday and Thursday with teachers in Manheim Township. Played for like an hour and a half after school. Always a good time. Since leaving there, obviously, don't play. But I spoke there last Thursday and Friday. And one of the guys I used to play with said, if you're not traveling, you should come play. I said, well, throw me back on the email list. And they did. And I was, around this evening. So I drove out and played for like an hour or so. Had a good time. I got to see some guys that I played with for, 8-9 years. And then some guys that I met for the first time tonight. Did not play particularly well. I feel like that was something I could have predicted after not playing for 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
I was able to run, didn't, lose that defensively. I was great. Passed the ball well. I think I only scored like 3 times. And, I was putting it up. I was like, if I'm coming, I'm going to put it up. Here's one concern I have, Regz. I'm 38 years old. I don't know, what is it? It's October, it's mid-October. So I am like 4.5 months from turning 39. And there was like this point where, we were messing around. We weren't really playing, but we were just shooting. And I went up and it was going to hit one of the guys in the head. So I reached my arm up and turned it a certain way to just so make sure it didn't get him. And my shoulder, something went wrong in my shoulder.
Oh no.
And it was, I don't know if you noticed, but I've been rubbing it and
notice,
moving
yeah.
it. And it's in my bicep now, and I feel it in my tricep, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It wasn't even in the act of playing. It was in the act of making sure it didn't hit this dude in the head.
Yeah.
But it was just my body was turned one way. Now 15, 20 years ago, nothing happens.
Yeah, you don't even
right?
think about it. Yep.
And I'm just hoping that I strained it or sprained it. Told Andrew I'm gonna give it a few days and we'll go from there. I'm not gonna I feel like I played a whole nother game after that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sore. It's just sore to different movements and things like that. So we're gonna, we'll stretch it during the show. And so if you're watching on YouTube, enjoy my stretching throughout the show. If you're not, just visualize me stretching my shoulder for the next hour.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you're still on brand as a basketball player, that if you show up, you're getting your shots up. Nothing has changed in 20 years of that being the case. So that's fantastic. That's still your mindset when you step on a basketball court.
Fire it up, baby.
I love it. And I just am getting flashbacks of Azzy in the corner, shooting threes in our intramural basketball games.
Yep. I only got on the court for 2 or 3 minutes, and even though I was the captain, so I knew my role. Put the team together, manage the schedule, send the motivational emails.
Yep. Make sure we show up.
It was the only sport that I didn't play a larger role in, and I knew my role. But when I got in for those 3 minutes,
you knew what was happening.
We were up 30 or 40, so I was gonna unless it was playing Ryan's team.
Yeah.
So I was gonna fire up my shots.
Yeah. Help me get my rebounding numbers up.
That's right.
Because if Fairbanks is shooting, right. I don't get any rebounds. He makes everything he looks at.
Well, Yeah, he does everything well that he looks at. It's annoying.
He can't play baseball though. I'd bet my life that guy can't hit a fastball.
No, but he did take a couple of bats in slow pitch softball.
He does do a lot of things well, but we'll always have baseball over him.
We will always have baseball.
And football. I don't think he can play football either.
I don't think he really ever played for the Little Giants. He had a jersey he'd come and watch, but I don't know.
Of course he did.
I don't know that he actually did. He play?
No, I don't think so. Or at least I don't remember.
Yeah, I feel like because it was around basketball season, he usually stayed away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the one time we put Phil on the field?
Oh my God. I'm sure I do.
Well, we put him on the field and basically said, Josh, throw him the ball 4 times.
Yeah, and just let him
run
everywhere.
Well, he ran go routes all 4 times and couldn't connect on the first 3. Then he caught the 4th one. I'll never forget. And then he scored, dropped the ball in the end zone, and ran back to the dorm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, one of my favorite Phil stories. One of my favorite Phil stories ever, because he usually came and watched and cheered, and heckled Stein.
Of course. Why wouldn't he?
CB1, Matt Stein.
That's right.
We were very selfless offensively. Everybody rotated.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a very set defense.
Yeah, because why mess with it?
It was our defensive line rotators, like you and Bryson.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of other guys that we read, like when we took Jeremy Heisey on the team.
Yep.
He was up there. Ryan played linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Stein and Jake Keeler played corner.
Well, Jake wasn't until the last few years. Josh played a decent amount, didn't he?
Josh and I played safety.
That's right.
Yeah, Josh and I were safeties. Every once in a while, before we got Jake, I played corner opposite of Stein.
Yeah.
But Josh and I played a lot of the safety stuff. I remember we had to have 3 females on the field too, at all times. But our defense was really, really good. It was really, really good.
I mean, once we got Jake, it was like borderline, like unfair.
Well, yeah, and we had Phil Alder too.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
I just convinced everybody to play for us by the end. It was
because
like us.
we had beaten them, and then they were just like, screw it. It's like KD going to the Warriors for a year.
Yeah, we were like the Monstars by senior season.
Oh, the senior year team for sure.
We took out the track guys. We took out the lax guys. So we brought both of those groups over to us.
We beat the older basketball guys too. Our first year
in softball and in football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were. Football was the one that no one could get us in. No one could get us in football.
We did.
We won 3. We won 3, right?
Yeah.
And we won 3 softball too.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we got 6 between football and softball. We got 2 more in soccer. We got 1 in volleyball.
Yeah.
And 3 in basketball, 2 or 3 in basketball. We thought about water polo, but we decided not to go that route.
Yeah. I contributed 0 to the soccer. I was like, that was one of those where, yeah, you guys go do that.
Well, Phil and Ryan basically took soccer. We didn't really.
Well, yeah, when you got a guy who, got recruited to play D1 soccer and he's just running around in an intramural field, it helps.
And his sister was equally as good.
That's true.
She was on that team.
That's right.
So, man, the glory days, Regz.
I love it.
Brings me back to the shoulder. I'm very sore.
Listen, I every once in a while get texts like there was a group of guys that I played basketball with in the morning. Some like back when no kids, they would play from like 6 to 7:30 or something at a local high school. And every once in a while they'll shoot me a text if they need a guy or two. And someday I want to get back to it. Someday when the boys are old enough to like get themselves on the bus and I have confidence that they're not going to just stay at home and get where they're supposed to. I might start trying to do it again, but I'm sure it would be equally as ugly if I tried to play right now.
Dude, I made the sweetest backdoor cut today.
Yeah, you did.
Caught the pass and totally botched the layup. I mean, if there was video of it, what movie is it where the guy, Jennifer Aniston, Ben Stiller, Along Came Pop,
yeah.
and he always yells when they're on the basketball
Philip
court.
Seymour Hoffman, isn't it? He's like,
Yeah. And I forget what he yells every time, but he like throws it off the backboard.
Yeah. He's like, make it rain.
That's what he does. That's what it was.
Off the backboard.
It wasn't even one of those layups that like hits the backboard, hits the rim. It like I hit the backboard and went to like half court. It was brutal. Now I made up for it with like a couple like fast break layups, things like that. But I mean, it was such a good backdoor cut. It was so good, but I got so excited that it was just like Kobe, and I was just like.
It's also on those kind of plays, you're all jacked up, and like I bet at this age, if I did the same thing and went to like jump, I never jumped high in my life. But if I went to attempt like a layup how I used to after like a sweet backdoor cut, because you're all amped up, you're like, I made the perfect cut and my guy hit me. And you're just like, I'm going to jump up. That's like when you two-hand smack the backboard, you know, when you do your layup. At this point, I think I'd jump and like, I think I'd miss the backboard if I attempted to like two-hand smack it after doing a layup.
I will tell you
as my hamstrings simultaneously tore in two.
I will tell you that when I grabbed my first rebound with no one around me, I did smack the ball and yell.
I love it.
Just to let everybody know that I was back.
That makes me so happy.
And then I proceeded to pull up from like right in front of half court, and that one I think rimmed out. That was actually a decent shot.
Make it rain.
Make it rain. Just hook shot from half court. Yep, that was me today. That was me. Look, man, I'm going there and getting it in.
I love it.
I was 2-2 on the day. 1-2, lost 2. Didn't really add anything to the wins. Added a whole lot to the losses. That's it. So we got a lot to talk about, man, because obviously we have an Eagles game in Minnesota this weekend. All the vibes coming out of the NovaCare are pretty positive this week. We'll get to that in a little bit. And today the Phillies held their post-mortem press conference. Not something we were hoping to see this year. We were hoping to see something a little different. But I want to preface this. What we're going to do is Reg's going to throw names my way. I'm going to talk about my vibe on that player after hearing Dave and Rob talk about them today. Regz was not able to watch it. So I was texting him updates. He read the articles about it. So I'm going to give him my sort of insight into what I pulled from the conversations today. But the overarching theme that I got was what we've been saying this whole time. And it's simply this. They're the second best team in baseball. They unfortunately played the best team in baseball in the DS. And they lost due to maybe 3 or 4 plays that went the wrong direction. Some by their own fault. Some by chance. But, you know, both Rob and Dave said that they were more sad than angry. Last year, they were both angry, like we've talked about.
Yeah.
This year, it was more, darn, we were close. Dave said that Dodger rotation is one of the best he's ever seen, which I would absolutely agree with. It is one of the best we've ever seen. And, you know, they didn't feel like they were that far apart from the Dodgers. Local media is livid. Fans who don't understand the sport are livid because they feel like they should be angry and want to make sweeping changes because this is not the way. We should not be raising a banner for being competitive. No one's raising a banner. He's telling the truth. He built the second best team in the sport. And they lost 3 games by a total of 4 runs. Their pitching was as good, if not better, than the Dodgers pitching. The difference was some defensive miscues, some bad managing, and that's it. And 1 through 3 not hitting, but the Dodgers 1 through 4 didn't hit. So it evens out at the end of the day. So that's my overarching thing. I don't take from it they're not making changes. I don't take from it they're running it back. I took from it that they thought that they have the DNA to win a championship as constructed. And they're going to do whatever they can to add to it and to improve. But they at no point did Dave Dombrowski say, we're doing it all over again next year. At no point, which he's done in the past.
Yeah.
He has said in the past that he's confident in the group. And when faced with the question, he said, yeah, if we brought people back, I do feel like we could win again. And so did Rob. But what are they going to say? No. How's that make free agent Kyle Schwarber feel? Or JT Realmuto feel? 2 guys that a lot of fans want back. Well, if we bring this band back together, no, we won't win again. All right, see ya. Right? Like, what are we talking about? People just want to be mad, Regz.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that this will serve as a good recap of it for maybe those who also couldn't watch the whole thing and maybe just haven't had the time to go back. Maybe followed through Twitter like I did. I've read the articles since, but it's always good to get someone's perspective that watched it, from start to finish and has all the context. So, all right, let's start running through them. These are in no particular order, and some of them are going to be specific players. Others are going to be groups of players just to sort of help us move along.
Yeah.
So first on the list, Mr. Castellanos.
Yeah, he's gone. He gone.
Yes.
It was very evident that Dave has had his fill of Nick Castellanos. He was asked about a lot of guys. He was very thoughtful about a lot of guys. When it came to Nick, the response of we'll see what happens was very different than the tone of we'll see what happens with Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
They asked about the stuff that took place with Rob, and Dave talked about how he likes to, if he gets involved, he likes to address things quietly behind the scenes. But he hopes it doesn't get to that. And he talked about how there are situations where this happens. He's had this before. He said in most cases it happens every year. It's not been that way with Rob. And that he did have to get involved. And he sort of left it at that.
Yeah.
But, it was interesting because he talked about, and we'll get to this with Otto Kemp, that, they asked about Nick's knee, and he was like, yeah, we'll follow up on that. I'm not really sure. But he knew that Otto Kemp needed stuff done. I just think the marriage is over on both sides. They're going to do whatever they can to dump him. He'll either be released or they're going to try and trade him, right? They're not going to cut their losses and say, we're going to eat this 20.
Yeah.
They're going to see if a team will even take 6 to 8 of it. Which I feel like he's a DH who's not as good as he was offensively at some point. 1 for 6, 1 for 8 is about right for him.
Yeah.
It's about right. So, if a team we might have to attach a prospect to it to get them to eat some of that money. I'm not talking an Aiden Miller type prospect, but I will tell you right now, I left the press conference today certain that Nick Castellanos will not be a Philly in 2026.
Yeah. That seems to also be the consensus in all the articles I've read, with people who have followed up with sources and, team people and stuff like that. So, all right, let's go to hopefully a more positive note. Mr. Schwarber.
Yeah. More of the same of what we've heard all year about Kyle. Just what it would mean to bring him back versus what it would mean to lose. Not just his talent on the field, but what he brings to the clubhouse. And, Dave said what has been the messaging this whole time which is Kyle knows we want him back. Kyle's representation knows we want him back. We know Kyle wants to come back, but Kyle's a free agent, and we're going to respect that process with Kyle and let him go through that process. We've seen the rumors of Kyle wanting 5 for 150. A DH who has no flexibility to play the field at the age of 32, that terrifies me. And I love Kyle Schwarber. There is no secret to how much I love Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about him in a moment. I got the feeling that they're prioritizing JT a little bit more. I said to my brother today on the phone that like, there's no order to this. Yeah. They're going to try and get both of those guys back. If they get one done first, cool. If they get the other, like one is not contingent to the other.
Mm-hmm.
They want both.
Right.
I do think Kyle's free agency is going to be a little lengthier just because there are going to be so many teams interested in his services just because of what he does. I fear the Red Sox. I fear teams like the Cubs, the Reds. I know they're not going to be able to pay 5 for 150, but the hometown thing. I don't fear a team like the Dodgers. I think the Giants could get involved here. There are some AL teams that I think he would fit on that are looking for that DH type, some leadership. I think, he could fit a lot of places. There are young teams that could use his leadership. But the tone was the tone we've heard all year. There's no change in this idea that they want him. I just don't know if it's the best use of resources financially, if that's the deal he ends up with. However, all of that being said, I don't think he ends up 5 for 150. I just don't see a team doing it.
Yeah.
So, but the tone was the tone, Regz. There was no change in that.
Okay. You touched on JT a little bit. Anything else there that you specifically said?
I do want to mention something that I thought was very telling about JT. So Rob Thomson was a catcher. And he's been in the dugout for a lot of organizations with really great catchers. He's managed, coached Pudge Rodriguez for a short time, Jorge Posada. And he said today that JT Realmuto is the most prepared catcher he's ever been around. And, Dave talked about the value of JT and his work ethic and the trust that not just the pitchers have in him, but the coaching staff and the front office, and just, what he brings from a leadership perspective, the way that he goes about his business. While they spoke very highly of Kyle Schwarber, my eyes were opened a little bit to, man, they really value JT, and Topper could have been his agent because the words that he used, I was like, Rob, slow the roll a little bit, man. Because he was like, you can't put a number on what JT means to this organization. And that's very high praise. It's not just, it's, this guy means a lot. This guy means a lot. And I don't know that we can replace him. So I think he'll be back. I think if you made me guess which of the two would definitely be back, I think it's JT, because I think they'll be in the ballpark unless a team goes to JT 4 for 60.
Yeah.
Which would just be baseball malpractice, because he has no value as a DH, no value as a first baseman. You're paying this dude to be your catcher.
Yeah.
And I think if the Phillies can be in the ballpark of like 2 for 26 to 2 for 30, even like a third-year option type of thing, he'll be back here. I think JT knows that his career, the best years are behind him. He's got 2 to 3 years left. I think he wants to be here. It just struck me how highly they spoke of him, Regz.
It's very interesting. All right. Mr. Ranger is up next.
They didn't really talk about Ranger.
Okay. I think that I think that, is the inevitability of the situation.
Yeah, he didn't really even come up. Like, I don't even think a reporter asked a question about him.
Yeah.
What was interesting to me was the Luzardo question that came up. They asked Dave, looking at what you have with your young staff and Nola's here and Wheeler will be back and the hope of Painter and the emergence of Sanchez. Talk to us about Jesus Luzardo. Have you considered an extension? I mean, he was very, very bold and upfront and said, we would love to have Jesus Luzardo here for the long term. He said, we haven't had those conversations yet, but we would love to have those conversations, or something of that extent. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it's very clear that they feel strongly about what Jesus Luzardo brings to the rotation. He's young still. I think having those two lefties is something that they value, and it's sort of a Ranger contingency plan. I think that was always the plan. So it would not shock me, Regz, if this offseason they buy out his last year of ARB and extend him for another 3 or 4 seasons. If he's willing to do it like 80 cents on the dollar, that would be, something that wouldn't surprise me. And something that struck me today for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind a deal like that, if I'm honest. I'm not going to be mad about that.
Yeah.
All right.
No, absolutely not.
Let's jump to center field and Mr. Crop Top, Harrison Bader.
So I got to tell you, I texted you this. He talked about Harrison Bader a lot.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where I was like, is Bader already back? Like, he referenced him multiple times as a guy who sparked them, as a guy that they loved having around, as a guy who's in the conversation for next year. And I'm sitting there like, is this mutual option happening and we don't know it yet? And it's just, a possibility. Like, so it sounds like he's high on their priority list too, because of his ability to play defense. They loved his defense. They loved his energy. They loved what he brought to the clubhouse. This is speaking from the Mike perspective now. I'm just a bit concerned that, bringing him back on something a little lengthier is off of the heels of a one-off season that he was extremely hot in. I like Bader. I don't want him to be the right-handed bat that they inevitably need to add.
Yeah, I agree there.
But if you look at his career, this was by and far his best season. And extending him would mean that you're banking on this being his true, what he is for real. And I don't know that he is. And I don't want to say that he's not, because I really liked what I saw from Harrison Bader. I think he was a lot more aggressive with his swing this year and his offensive approach. He's still going to strike out at a pretty high volume. But if that's what you get, like 270, 15 home runs with that elite defense for 2 to 3 seasons, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the player we got for half of a year being your everyday guy. It's whether or not they believe that the changes are sustainable. That's it. If they believe that, okay. If they don't, he's not going to be the center fielder. Dave mentioned a lot of different guys in that mix. He talked about Rojas again. He talked about Crawford. One guy that he breezed over was Brandon Marsh, and we're going to talk about him in a little bit. But they seem to still believe in Rojas, and they're not sure if they want to use Crawford in left field or center field yet. So it was very interesting how much Dave talked about him. Rob didn't talk about him as much, but Rob wasn't given like the opportunity. I can't remember which one of them said, I think it was Dave, that losing Harrison at the time they lost him might have lost them the series.
Yeah, I think you texted me that when Dave was talking. Yeah,
he was pretty steadfast on, if we had Harrison Bader, we think we win that series, which is wild.
It was a real bummer when he went down. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, because he talked about, just how that spot came up. And again, that's a slight on Nick. That's a slight on Nick. Because who replaced Harrison for the rest of the series? Nick.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It really struck me that like he was talking about Harrison Bader nonstop. 3 or 4 different times. He just brought him up on his own. He wasn't even asked about him.
Do you think there's any chance the option happens?
What did Todd Zlecki say? Like, it's over its last 34.
Yeah.
Like one side or the other doesn't pick it up in the last 34 like mutual options. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a chance, but I put it at like less than 5%. Like, why? He had a really good year. Why would he not test the market?
Right. Yeah. No, I know.
You know, because at the end of next year, he's 33. Like, he's not going to get another. At that point, you're pretty much going year to year.
Right.
Because his value is really his defense. That's his main value. I don't know. We'll see. I would love it. 1 year, $10 million. The Phillies would do that in a second.
Yeah.
No, a second.
Yeah.
If they could get him for 2 for 20 or 2 for 22, they'd do that too. So we'll just have to see what he wants.
All right. Last specific player. It's sort of been the talk of the town. Dave spoke about Bryce a little bit, and there's been some reactions, to say the least. So I want to hear your perspective on this. And I think Rob sort of got asked the same question and had, a slightly different answer than Dave. But what did you think about Dave's response? Let's start with that.
I know that there were people like that took issue with it, but there would have been those same people would have been angry if he defended him to the nth degree. They would have been like, "Oh, you're defending Bryce Harper or the fanatic shoes." Like, you can't have it both ways. So I thought what he did today was challenge Bryce Harper. What he did today was come out and say what is true. Like, Bryce did not have an elite season. Bryce was still very good. He was still very good. He was an above average player in every facet. He just wasn't elite Bryce Harper for whatever reason. Now, Dave was very clear in that the wrist is fine. I don't buy it for a second. I do not buy that the wrist is like 100%. Not saying that he needs surgery, but that like he said he was 100%. No, he was not. Shut up. We're not dumb.
Yeah.
But his messaging was, it wasn't a good year. It wasn't in terms of what Bryce is and the standard for Bryce Harper. He didn't live up to that standard. And I think Rob said the same thing. He just, like you said, in a different way. Rob said it wasn't what Bryce has been. He was still all-star caliber. And Rob said something that I don't think Dave said. And if Dave said it, I apologize. But Rob said, like, Bryce would tell you the same thing.
Yeah, right.
Bryce would tell you the same thing. And Rob talked about how, Dave's thing was, Bryce, I've seen this with elite players. They either take this as a like motivation and they get elite again, or they fade. And it's up to Bryce which way he's going to go. There's no false statement there. That is truth, and it's a challenge. He brought up Freddie Freeman and said, Freddie's not the elite of the elite anymore. He's still a great ball player. But Freddie had like a down year, and he's come back and been really good. And that was sort of Dave's messaging, whereas Rob said that he thinks players like Bryce don't need to be challenged because he's going to be angry and he's going to put in the effort this offseason and he's going to make sure that he's better. And they said, what advice would you give him? And he said to be himself. I think, we had the conversation many times that Bryce was trying really hard.
Yeah.
Almost to the point that it was.
I think like the whiff rate and like his chase rate even reflected that. It was like much higher than it usually is.
And that's fixable stuff.
Yeah.
Well, at least the chase rate.
Right.
Right. Bryce went up there trying to change the game in every at bat.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that some of that, Regz, is because he just didn't always want to trust the guy behind him. I hate it
Yeah.
because I love JT. And I thought Alec did a really nice job in the postseason. But I think Bryce felt, and Rob said it, Bryce felt like he needed to go be Bryce Harper every at bat.
Yeah.
And he stopped trying to hit the ball to left field. He tried to hit every ball about 15, 20 rows into the bleachers.
Wasn't taking walks. Like,
Nope.
didn't even want to take a walk.
Totally different version of Bryce Harper than what we've seen. And that's what gives me hope that he's going to be okay or not. Look, Bryce is going to play next year at the age 33. The best years of Bryce are probably behind us.
Yeah.
We're not going to get 40 home run Bryce Harper anymore. But I don't think there's any reason to believe that he can't be 300, 20, 25 home runs, lead the league in doubles, stuff like that, right? Like Bryce can still be that guy.
Right.
And I think that this was a challenge. I don't think anything Dave said today had any ill will toward Bryce. I don't think it was, meant to. I think what he said about Matt Strahm was, get it together, Matt. We can drop you tomorrow. That wasn't what he was doing with Bryce.
Yeah.
I took it very much as we still think Bryce is a great player, but it's up to Bryce if it's going to be different next year, because a lot of the struggles, I think you just named it, a lot of the struggles were self-inflicted. I know he was swinging through some pitches down the middle of the plate in the postseason, but he was getting himself into situations where he was thinking breaking ball because he swung at a breaking ball to get himself down 0-1. And then pitchers were just pitching him backward at that point. So it's up to Bryce. I don't think there's any myth there.
And look, if you want to believe some people, this means he's going to be traded. So it was nice. It was nice knowing you, Bryce Harper.
And if you want to believe other people, every time someone doubts Bryce, he has an MVP season.
Oh God, those tweets were really funny. All right,
that's one way to put it. Funny.
Yeah.
It's amazing some of these people have jobs.
I know, and yet no one will hire us to talk about this stuff.
How about it?
Just saying. All right. So in the things I was reading and that I was able to follow, there was a significant amount of talk about prospects, mainly the big ones: Crawford, Painter, and Miller. So give us some insight into what Dave sort of talked about with those guys. Does it seem different than in the past to how they've spoken about these guys, and maybe their not willingness to bring them up, but how much they'll be involved, from the jump?
Yeah. I think, Dave pretty much said there's nothing left for Justin Crawford to do in the minors. So, but now he was very clear in saying he's not promising anybody a job.
Yeah.
They're going to still have to earn it, which is totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
So Crawford to me is penciled in right now to one of those three outfield spots. I believe we're going to see a very different outfield in March. And to me, he's the one that sounded like the biggest lock. Miller, he left the door open with Andrew Miller. He said he's going to get a shot. I think that's fine. My guess is Aiden Miller's here in 27, maybe in 26, depending on is there an injury? Is someone struggling too much that they have to bring him up just to give a jolt? Those types of things. But I think they want to give him a full year at AAA. Just let him, cook there for a little bit and go. But he did not close the door on that. He mentioned Gabe Rinconis, that they love his power. They love his ability to hit righties. That felt more platoony to me than anything. Andrew Painter, he talked about that the stuff was still there. The fastball velo was there. He said it was a down year, which we all know. We kept a very close eye on Andrew Painter. And he talked about the command, and he mentioned how he's seen a lot of guys come and go from Tommy John, and most time the command is the last thing to show up. The biggest thing that I took from his comments about Painter was how pleased they were with his health.
Mm-hmm.
And he took on the innings load. He was able to do that. They never felt like there was anything to blink at in terms of his health. And so he will probably be the favorite to land that 5th starter spot come spring.
Yeah.
They'll add some, random names in free agency, the Joe Ross types. We don't know what's going to happen with Taijuan Walker. He might still be here. They could bring Walker Buehler back if they decide to try and move on from Taijuan Walker. But Andrew Painter's going to be the favorite for that job. I mean, he was going to make the team 2 years ago before Tommy John, came out. So he's going to get every opportunity. The last young name that was discussed was a guy who played on the roster this year. He was here for a lot of the year, as a matter of fact. And this was another one that surprised me. Both Rob and Dave talked about how Otto Kemp has everyday player potential to him. And Dave was a little quieter about it. He talked about how, he needed, to get some things cleaned up and didn't really break the news, but you took from it that he was hurt. And Dave mentioned what he played through, a lot of guys wouldn't play through. He's one of the toughest players and competitors in this organization. Comes out tonight that he fractured his knee.
Yeah.
In mid-June, and they showed the video of him fouling the ball off his knee in Miami and played through it. Regz. I to an extent, Andrea's reaction was, who let that happen? And I said, well, him. Because they probably said, hey, we want to put you on the IL.
Yeah.
And with his journey, if you don't, him stepping away could mean that's it.
Yeah, right. You never see it again.
And so credit to the kid, because I mean, think about that Mets series and how many big hits he got in that Mets series where they swept him here in Philly. This kid was starting for like 2 weeks when Alec Bohm was on the IL. He started every night at third base. Every night. And was playing at a high level with a fractured knee. I can't even sit here with my shoulder right now. So they're very high on Otto. They love his pop. I don't know that he's ever more than a utility guy, and you need guys like that.
Yeah.
You do. You do. So I think from a youth perspective, we're going to see Andrew Painter, we're going to see Justin Crawford this year. But I think other guys are going to get their chances. I think McGarry's going to get a chance in the bullpen. I think we're going to see some other names like Gene Cabrera is a guy that we could see getting a chance with the rotation at some point. They're starting the transition, right? We're starting the transition. We're going to see some of this youth come around a little bit more, and that was very evident today.
Yeah, I think Gell put in his article that the Phillies had the second least amount of debuts or innings pitched by anybody under the age of 28. First was the Dodgers, of course, but that is what it is. All right. 2 more here. The daycare. I don't remember, a bunch of stuff specifically about them, but I think some comments were sort of sprinkled in here and there. Like you said, when talking about maybe the outfield or, places of opportunity for this team to make some changes. So anything stick out to you with the 3 guys, specifically Marsh, Stott, Bohm?
From Dave, Stott, he spoke very glowingly of Bryson Stott and just about the changes in his swing. And they believe that moving forward, he's going to be a difference maker for them offensively. Also, important to note that Rob talked about playing him against lefties, and that he does believe he can hit lefties. He has a hard time trying to find ways to get Edmundo Sosa at bats, and that's his best opportunity to do so. He's like, I can't sit Bomer against lefties. That'd be silly. Sosa hits like 320 against lefties. I got to give him chances to hit. He's got to stay fresh, and that's my opportunity to do that. So he doesn't consider Bryson Stott a platoon. He just considers it opportunistic, but they do believe he can hit lefties. So that was also interesting to me as we head into next season.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them really talked about Marsh, which I found pretty telling. Dave just mentioned his name a little bit in the center field thing, but it was more like, he can play center. But like, if you're going Crawford Bader in left and center field, I am pretty sure Brandon Marsh isn't going to be the right fielder.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. Regz, it will not surprise me if Brandon Marsh is traded before 2026 begins. He's still 2 years of control, I believe. That's attractive to teams. He had a really good regular season.
Yeah.
So, he could help a team somewhere along the way. But I don't think it's going to be in Philly next year. Alec Boehm, Topper talked about him. Dave did not talk about him. Dave said that they feel as though their infield's pretty set. Rob talked about how impressed he was with the way Boehm came into the year and talked about his maturity, talked about how much he grew, talked about how proud of him he was. So I'm stuck here, rock and hard place with Alec Boehm. I don't think Alec Boehm's back after 2027 or after 2026. I'm sorry. He'll leave in free agency. And that's more so because the Phillies are going to have a logjam. They're going to have Stott, Miller, Turner, right? There's nowhere for Boehm to go unless they want to move Bryce to DH and let Boehm play first, which I don't see the value in. I don't know if Alec is as important to us with 1 year left as he would be to another team. I think there are things you can do at third base long term and short term. Like if you really love Otto Kemp, let Otto play third base until June and then see if Aiden Miller's ready to come up and make your adjustments then. Or I'm a big Bo Bichette guy. You need a right-handed bat. Sign Bo Bichette to play third base. He's younger than Alec. He's got 2 batting titles. Or 2 hit lead, like he's been the hit leader twice, so 2, batting titles from that perspective. Led the AL 2 times. Like before the age of 28, that's pretty wild. Shortstop who's a little bigger bodied, so it's probably time to make that move to third base. I love Alec. I love everything he's done to improve himself physically, defensively, mentally, but Alec offensively is what Alec is.
Yeah.
A 280 guy who's going to hit 12 to 15 home runs. And they're going to need more. They're going to need more because if you're planning on going into 2026 with him hitting cleanup again, it's not going to work. We know it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Even when he was at his best in the DS, it didn't work. I mean, he hit a ball as hard and as far as he could, and it still didn't get out.
Yeah.
So I am certain one of those 3 is gone, and I'm about 50% that 2 of them are gone.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the right group to turn over. You can't turn over Bryce, you can't turn over Trey.
Yeah.
I think, turning 2 of those guys over with where you are contract-wise, and Aiden on the way and Crawford on the way, those are places you can afford to make some changes.
Yeah. All right. Last one, and then we'll jump in to the football team. The bullpen. Anything stick out to you about what either of them talked about with the bullpen?
Yeah, Dave pretty much said that Jose will be back.
Yep.
I don't think it'll be at $9 million. I think, they'll find a way to get him down somewhere like 4 or 5. Maybe they'll figure out like a 2-year deal worth $9 million, something like that. They're set with Strahm. They're set with Banks. I got no sense that they were thinking about trading Orion. That doesn't mean that they're going to. I know a lot of people don't believe he's going to be able to play here again, but like they have no right-handed arms outside of Duran.
Right.
So, trying to trade him unless you're getting another right-handed arm in return, there's no positive in that. So, he mentioned Max Lazar, but give me a break. They're going to be in the market for a right-handed reliever. I think they're set lefty-wise with those three guys. I don't think they have to do much there. Dave basically said, look, we got the closer. For the first time, we've got the closer.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and build around him. Alvarado, Strahm, Banks, it's a good set of lefties. We know that. I think Kerkering's fine in the right-handed version of Strahm.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to find the Hoffman version.
Yeah.
Like the Alvarado of the right-hander. And if you do that, then your bullpen is just, you're in a great spot. You're in a great, like a Devin Williams type is what I think we're going to find. I don't know if it'll be Devin Williams, but that kind of guy. The guy you can hand the ball to in the 8th inning, and maybe they take, I don't even want to say that out loud. Never mind. I'm going to stop there. But I think they like where they're at from a starting point. And I do too. You got 5 of your 8 already there.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with 1 long man. So 6 of 8 already there. What's important is what's left between those 2 remaining spots in the pen is finding the right-handed version, that Jeff Hoffman, who can come in and put out the fire with guys on base, because that's just not Orion. Orion is going to be fine coming in a clean 7th inning and getting you 3 outs.
Mm-hmm.
He is not able to come in and get guys out with runners on base.
Yeah.
That's that.
All right. Well, very interesting to say the least. I know I will be going back just to watch, just to take everything in and add some context to the articles and everything. But it sucks that we're not still playing baseball, but at least we got something to talk about.
Well, it's funny that you said that because someone just texted me what I think we all know. The Dodgers are inevitable.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the Dodgers are going to be inevitable next year too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I know that there's guardrails. Dave said we're not going to have a $400 million payroll, but the Phillies have to change things if they want a chance to beat the Dodgers. I don't know what exactly those things are or how they're going to do it, but they have to change things. So we shall see.
That's right.
One last note that I want to make: they are adding a bench coach.
Yes.
Mike Calitri is moving to a new role, and they are adding a bench coach. Jack Fritz tweeted it immediately, and I couldn't agree more. David Ross is the guy. Like, if he doesn't get the Braves job, you get him here, because then he's already in-house.
Yeah.
He's in-house for when Rob's like, all right, I'm good. Because it sounds like Rob's going to sign another 1-year extension.
Mm-hmm.
But if things go sideways, like, you want to have a guy in-house. It's going to be someone with managerial experience. And Rob said that he would prefer that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I did find that interesting, and also that they're keeping the whole coaching staff intact.
Yeah.
So, all right, football team.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, man, it's been a lot of positives coming out of the NovaCare this week. Sounds like the offense feels like they're in a good spot. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a good Viking defense they're facing this week. And so we're in a holding period. We're in a wait and see moment in time. But I think this 10-day bye came at a perfect moment for them. I think they needed to step back and look at things, self-scout a little bit. And I'm hoping that the measured approach of this bye brings out a different version of this offense. I don't know exactly what I want, because I don't know exactly what we've watched at this point. I don't know I know, I shouldn't say I don't know what I want. I want more variety. I want more creativity. And I want to see like that FU attitude up front that they have not had. It sounds like Landon's going to play, 2 weeks. Hopefully, he's feeling healthier. Um, we'll see. I'm very hopeful and encouraged listening to guys like AJ talk and Jalen talk and Saquon talk after this mini bye. As they head into play the Vikings. What do you think from what you've heard and seen?
I mean, I think this team luckily is full of enough guys that enjoy the opportunity to really dive into something like this and have the time to do so. So I'm hopeful that in that sense, they were able to make some real progress. I don't know how it helps Kevin Patullo get better at how he sequences plays, like getting his team into the rhythm of a game, not being so predictable when you like you sent me one tweet that look at these 3 third down plays and it's the same formation every time, practically the same routes every time. And it's that kind of stuff that, me not being a football guy, I don't know how that improves quickly. That's going to take time and some sort of, not epiphany, but an evolution of Kevin Patullo that would have to happen rapidly. So we've seen them come out and play good for stretches, like we've talked about. We've seen a half of football where they've been very good and the offense doesn't seem stagnant. But then inevitably there's this stretch where they just get in a rut and he hasn't figured out a way to get them out of it. So while I have confidence that this team can take this time and appreciates this time to look into things and truly come up with solutions, at some point the guy getting the plays into the people has to be at a certain level and has to be ready to push a defense and throw something unconventional and be creative and take risks and all those things that he just hasn't been able to put together for 4 quarters of football consecutively. So I'll be very interested to see how that goes. Like you said, against a good defense with a good coordinator who tends to do the things that they're really bad at. Like they tend to mock pressures and drop guys and send other guys. And that's given Eagles and particularly Jalen fits this year. So I'm hopeful, but this is you got to see it to believe it at this point. They've talked enough about the changes they want to see and what they're trying to do. We got to see it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, these next 2 weeks are a real test from a fan perspective, right? It's the Vikings, and we know that's a tough team. McConnell's a good head coach, and they're like you said, Vance, he is a really good DC, who does a lot of the things that we're gonna see. A lot of zone. We're going to see a lot of, dropping a lineman and sending a linebacker, or, it'd still be a 4-man rush, but it's going to be like a sim blitz essentially. And so, that'll be telling from an offensive perspective. Can they put 4 quarters of football together, like you alluded to? And then week 8, they need to kick the shit out of the Giants and put them back in their place.
Yeah.
Obviously you don't want to look ahead, but these next 2 weeks are just so important for the psyche of the team, of the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
If they win these next 2, I think we're all fine with 6-2. Obviously, you could be 8-0.
Yeah, right.
But you could also be 4-4 after those first few weeks, right? Like a lot of things. It's a week-to-week league. But I do believe these next 2 weeks are so crucial to what happens post bye.
Yeah.
Like they still have one of the top 5 most difficult schedules in the sport.
Yeah.
After the bye week. Like it's freaking like Packers, Lions, Cowboys, like coming right out of the bye. Like it is insane what this schedule is this year. Like the NFC East got the bag, man.
Yeah.
But this Minnesota team is a real challenge for a variety of reasons. You know, their wide receiver core is ridiculous. Aaron Jones is awesome. The defensive front is very, very good. So it's a real test. Now the fun part of the story is it sounds like JJ McCarthy, although he did attempt to practice this week, will not be playing.
Mm-hmm.
And that means old friend Carson Wentz.
That's right.
Will be playing. Now this will be the second time that Carson and Jalen have faced off. This is not like new, right? Carson was the quarterback in Washington when, Jalen, I think his first year as a starter. Or second year as a starter. I cannot remember. Might have been his second, because didn't Carson go to Indy first and then he was in Washington?
Yes.
Pretty sure that's how it went.
Yes.
So it was Jalen's second year as a starter. 23, the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost. And I mean, the Eagles just wrecked house on him. I mean, they sacked him a bunch. They picked him off a couple of times. But I do think, in O'Connell's offense, I think that he, being as good of an offensive mind as he is, he can help Carson. So there's the fun storyline there. Obviously, Wentz has it's a little different in terms of the receivers he's throwing to than when he was in Washington too.
Yep,
Justin
just
Jefferson's,
a little bit. Yep.
Justin Jefferson's okay.
Yeah.
So certainly it helps that Quinyon is likely going to be back. Jalen Carter today said he is playing. So they'll have their two of their 3 best defenders will be back on the field. And hopefully are able to stay on the field. I still believe both of them could have or would have played in Philly, but they worried so much about that turf with Jalen's heel and Q's hamstring.
Yeah.
One wrong step on that hamstring on that turf, and it's bye-bye season.
Yeah.
Your foot on turf, like, don't even get me started. So that's a big deal to have those two guys back. And offensively, it sounds like across the board, everybody will be there. From an edge rusher perspective, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's not great. Zarius Smith retired on a whim this week. Some of that, to me, Regz, I know there's been different schools of thought, and I want to know what yours is. Some of that, it must be really fractured for him to retire. I don't believe that for even a second.
Yeah, I think there was.
I think questions. This is a dude who woke up on Friday and was like, I don't want to go to practice today.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah, and I think that's everything that's been reported, is that even when guys have looked into this, they're like, this was not an Eagles thing. This was just a personal decision.
Right. And so that's it hurts, right? I mean, the Eagles, even with Nolan Smith right now, probably need 2 edge rushers. Like they need even with Nolan back, they need the stud and they need the dirty snap guy. And so that probably comes via free agency. I texted you yesterday that I think Yannick Ngakoue is going to be an Eagle. I think it's a matter of time. And he'll be the dirty snap guy. He's 30 years old. He's been in the league for a while. He'll eat up some snaps. And then I think they are going to make a trade I think it's going to be for someone legit. Like they've got 2 second-round picks. They're going to end up with at least a comp third, so they could trade a third. I think that's the route they're going to go at the deadline on November 4th or before then. And I think there's a chance they throw something at the wall with corner, but I don't know. I haven't really been that distraught over Adoree Jackson.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably got the job at this point because, good Lord, the other one is just bad. Keely is really not good.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing about Q being back is, can you imagine these two receivers against those two guys? Oh my God. You could throw
No
Mirror
thanks.
U out there, and I think we'd do
Yeah.
all right.
No thanks. Oof. So yeah, I am. This week is big. I don't need a blowout. This is a decent Minnesota team, but I need a win, and I need it to be like all three freaking phases type
Yeah.
of win. Please don't drop kickoffs. Have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd love to see the defense. You know, again, I wonder if we see Campbell in a little bit of an edge rusher situation with Nakobe being healthy. That might be a way to mitigate some of that edge rushing issue that they're having. Don't know that for sure. Just a thought on my end.
Yeah.
So let's do keys, and then we'll preview or we'll make our predictions. It is 1.5 is the spread in favor of the Eagles on the road, 1.5 point favorites. Started at 2.5, so the line has moved a little bit, and it is a total of 43.5. My key, Regz, is to play a full freaking 4 quarters on offense.
Yeah.
I think if they play a full 4 quarters, there aren't many teams who are going to beat them. If they can play a full 4 quarters of football offensively and not go to sleep from a play calling scheme talent perspective, there's I don't see them losing. I feel like both of these games they lost were a result of them falling asleep at the wheel. The Broncos didn't do anything to I mean, the Broncos adjusted and the Eagles never adjusted back. And that's something Patullo's got to be able to do. The Giants game, I don't know. Thursday night with the injuries, it just never felt good, right? So for me, it's give me 4 quarters of football. 4 quarters of offensive football that is consistent, that's creative, that is unpredictable. And I think we're all feeling a lot better.
Yeah. My key is I want the defense to come out sharp. These last few games, they've seemed sort of all over the place. The tackling's been bad. Stopping the run has been almost non-existent. And I get it. You're going to get beat on some plays. It's just going to happen. It's the NFL. It happens. They're not as good as they were last year. So it's okay. It's going to happen. But little stuff like effort and tackling and being in the right spot and communicating, all that stuff, I'm ready to see this defense kind of locking in a little bit. Again, I'm not expecting them to be the number 1 defense in the league. I just don't think that's going to happen this year. But there's no reason this defense can't be a top 10, top 7 defense in the league. And I think that's perfectly fine. But their effort and their sort of their collective togetherness is a stupid way to put it, but like their collectiveness just wasn't there these past few weeks. So I want to see them kind of snap back into it, be flying around. You're going to get beat on a few plays. It's a good play caller. It's a good wide receivers, but just lock back in a little bit and make it really hard, or as hard as you can, for this Vikings offense.
You can make the quarterback make mistakes.
Yes.
The quarterback will make a mistake or 2 or 5. Real quickly on the defense, because you said a couple of things there that just brought this to my head. We know they're not going to be the number 1 defense in the league. We knew there was going to be some fallback. Unfortunately, it's been bigger than what we thought it was going to be. But if you could retract or redo something from the offseason, one of the guys that walked is still here. Which one would you choose? I mean, and there's you got CJ Gardner-Johnson. And there's reasons for all of them, right? Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, there's Sweaty, there's Milton Williams. There's 5 different guys.
I think at this point, if it was possible, I'd love to still have Slay. If I could say he could play the same way he was playing, I think at the very least, Isaiah Rodgers being back would be you'd feel so much better about where everybody's at. And yeah, I think it's one of the corners. It's one of the corners because I think it just raises the floor of the defense. You still have the edge problems. You still have the pass rush problems. I don't think just Josh Sweat is going to change that. I don't think just Milton Williams was going to change that.
I didn't even mention Brandon Graham and all that either, by the way.
Yeah, that one I'm kind of it'd be great if he could come back. But
so interestingly, I would have gone with Sweat, and my reasoning is because I do think some of the struggles on the back end are because there's no pressure.
Yeah.
There is no I mean, these guys are standing there. They're standing there. And even when they don't stand there, no one hits anybody. I love Jackson Dart. He was a kid I loved in college, but somebody hit that kid and maybe he's not going to run in circles.
Yeah.
I do miss him. I think, having the edge could potentially change things, but I hear you. I don't know that I disagree. For me, it would have been an edge rusher. Maybe that makes a difference on the back end. I think, and I think CJ is another one, right? Like the attitude. You think that happens with the Giants if CJ's playing?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
he's just something's wrong because that dude can't find a home.
Yeah,
he's so talented. He's so talented.
He just can't. That's one of those classic. You can't get out of your own way kind of things.
All right, man. Well, 43.5 total. Birds are 1.5 point favorites. I do think this is going to be a close one. I don't think that they're going to win this one going away on the road.
Yeah.
I know they did that a few times last year, but this team's not shown me that they're in a place to do that. Now, this is about the time where they turned it on last year. Week 7 was about the time where we started to see a different football team. So there's part of me that's holding on to hope that we do. But I do think this game is going to be closer than we would want it to be. I have the Eagles winning 24-20.
I'm going 2017.
All right, so you have the under, and I have it slightly over, 0.5 point over. Okay. Anything else for the good of the cause, pal?
Just get right, man. Just come out. And again, if you lose by 3, it's not great. A 3-game losing streak is not good.
Yeah.
Obviously. I don't feel great about it. And I especially think with the quarterbacks that the Vikings are rolling out, you have a real chance for the defense to kind of take control of this game and keep it reasonable. But just come out and prove that you can that you found something. Come out and show us that you found something and you're getting better at something. That's what we really need to see.
I think that would be, it would be nice that if we saw, a loss would not be okay. Losing 3 in a row would be a little bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
This is a team who could have a 2 to 3 game lead in the division right now if they had done their job in one of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're in a different spot. They got to bounce back. So, we'll see what happens. But I need a win. I'm not in a place of moral victories
That's
right
fair.
now.
That's fair.
So go and win the game. Get back on track. Build your confidence going into a divisional game that you owe that team a little bit of a butt kicking. And maybe Jackson Dart will feel a little differently with Jalen Carter, chasing him around and And Quinyon Mitchell on the field and not no one covering no one, like I said last week. So, all right. Well, hey, thanks, man. Good time. We will be back next Thursday. At that point, I don't know, man. I'm feeling a little itchy. We might have to do our perfect off season here before the perfect off season actually takes off.
Let's do
it. I don't know that I can wait very long.
I love it, so I'm in.
Yeah. And we'll recap the Minnesota game and prepare for the Giants game. After that, the Eagles head into a bye and go to Green Bay. I don't know if you saw Micah Parsons' comments today, but
I haven't watched the whole thing, but I saw that there's a video out there.
Yeah, talking about that the Eagles really only do the tush push well. So we'll see you week 10.
That's
or
right.
Week 9.
That's
10.
right.
Week 10. We'll see you week 10, Micah. Until then, make sure you click the subscribe button here below us if you're watching on YouTube, or go to wherever you get your podcasts, and follow, like, subscribe, whatever it is. Head on over to social media, the Mic Drop 5 at Big Regz with a Z on Twitter, the Phixated fan page on Facebook, at the Phixated Podcast on Instagram, and at the Phixated Pod on TikTok. Merchandise in the show description below. Listen, birds, don't screw it up. Go win a football game. I'm probably going to go get my shoulder checked tomorrow. Everything's going to be fine. Folks, we love you. We appreciate you. Be kind to someone. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to someone else. And we'll talk to you next Thursday night. In the meantime, go Birds.
A big thank you to everybody. We are over 8,200 downloads for the podcast. So appreciate you, everybody.
Oh, man. Wow. Look at us. Love that.
See you on the next one.
Oh, my God. Deep to right field. Way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.